My name is just Bob Bowman. I haven't been on YouTube in a couple of months because I've been working on personal projects, which I told you about on my last video. When I was in the Philippines and I was leaving then, and that was the last day I was there. But now I'm back home. As you see, this is my house, and I have two guests here. Um, and I want you two to introduce yourselves. You go first.
I'm Johnny the Oscillator Robinson.
And I'm Derek, the Funk Moody.
And the name of their band is Funk Band. And as you see, we have three different color T-shirts, uh, but they all have gold lettering on it, and it says Funktivity.
Absolutely.
And it's the name of their single that they just came out with, and they're promoting it currently. But I want to ask you about the fact that you call yourself Funk Band, and what's the premise behind that? Because it seems like such a simple name to call yourself Funk Band.
It's funny that you say that because I think any name that a band chooses is simple in its beginning stages because the group has to establish themselves in the space to give validity to the name. So not to knock anybody because all the funk bands to me are amazing. Let's just use Cool in the Gang for example. You know, I'm pretty sure when they first started off, somebody said Cool in the Gang. What the hell is that? But now it's widely accepted. So it's pretty much the same premise with any group. You come out, you select the name that you feel has merit, that you feel that represents you and what you're trying to convey to the public. And funk band to me is very direct, it's very strong. We are funksters, we love funk, we play funk, and we're not going to just be a regular funk band, we're going to be the epitome of funktivity. And we talked before off camera about what funktivity is. Funktivity is funky activity, and be uh, it can be in a lot of different situations. Like if it's girls' night or the girls are hanging out together, then that's funktivity. That's funky activity. If the fellas are hanging out doing something, that's funky activity. If you're going to a funky concert, that's definitely funky activity. And if you're listening to funk music, that's funky activity. So it's basically a representation of someone enjoying themselves and someone enjoying funk music.
Okay. So, and that's basically what Funktivity is. It has no other type of meaning to it. Like, could you use it, like, for example, could you use it for, like, somebody that's getting in the gym and working as hard as they possibly?
Absolutely. Because it's a relationship. A lot of times you're listening to music when you're working out in the gym. So that's that's funktivity, funky activity. If you're in the kitchen chefing up a nice meal and you got music playing in the background, that's funktivity, baby.
All right.
So it's all over the place.
Okay.
And it also can be a feeling that you have when you listen to music, especially with baby.
Absolutely. And when you're spending time with your special woman, that's definitely funky activity.
Well, I wasn't going to bring that up. I'm going to let you say that.
Well, I just did.
I'm going to keep it PG.
That's PG.
But how long have y'all been doing this for? How long y'all been in the group?
Funk band just started. But musically, I've been tied to this guy for over 40 years. For I love the music, listening to music. And I've been doing this since I was, what, 11?
Somewhere along there. Somewhere
From St.
over there.
Louis to Chicago.
We over 50 years deep, friendship wise. But to answer your question, funk band is a new endeavor. Our first group was called Session, Sesion, and I've been in other bands. He's been in other bands. But funk band is a new endeavor. So it's funk band featuring Derek Moody. He's our lead vocalist. But yeah, musically we've been writing songs and doing stuff for a long time. Right? We ain't new to this game.
But you're true to this game, correct?
Absolutely.
I would say so.
Okay, so what got you? I want to start with John, the Oscillator Robinson. What got you into this game?
I love music first. And the type of music that was my first love was rockets and blues, harmony. That type of music,
That is what.
you know, was number one. That's
All
what
of
I
that.
love. That's basically
Right.
all this together. That same type of music, rock music. That really love music.
So I take it you like Parliament, Funkadelics.
How could you not?
Arcades,
Right.
Cameo.
Okay, Rick James.
Rick James, Brothers Johnson, Slave, Ohio, T.O.P., the Ohio Players, you know, Average White Band.
What about the sounds of Philadelphia? Stuff like that.
Well, you know, we obviously like the sounds of Philadelphia and Motown as well, but that's not funk. That's R&B soul. But, you know, you can blur the lines, you know. I don't mind putting some funk and some R&B and some soul. But funk it's on a different level. It's not
Okay, could you do a funky R&B song?
Absolutely. That's what I just said. You can put some funk in it.
Like, can you give me an example of a funky R&B song?
Well, the funky R&B song, since I stick with Sounds of Philadelphia, since you brought it up, you take the OJ's For the Love of Money. You know, that bass line is, you know, it's funky. So just that alone makes it funky. Yeah. So, you know, and so that's a good example, you know. But it just depends on where the group, where the emphasis is, and, you know, if the bass is in your face in the right place.
All right, I see some people are in the chat, and
Yeah.
I'm not ignoring you. I want to just give a shout out to y'all. Thank you for supporting this live. I can't see y'all names because I'm doing this live on my phone, and I got the phone set up kind of far from us.
Yeah.
But I want to just recognize y'all and thank y'all for coming in and listening to this conversation. We talking about music. We talk about funk music.
Bring 'em in, bro.
We have a funk band that's here called Funk Band, and they just explaining what it is that they doing. This is about funktivity. So, you know, we just kind of like asking questions about their influences, what they like, what they dislike. Like as far as today's music, do you think that today's music could align with funk?
No.
And why not?
Because it's not funk. I mean, there are some, you know, like if you take the Bruno Mars project, /project, you know, that's funk. But I mean, he's done other albums that was considered, you know, pop rock, you know, or easy listening or in R&B. So it's just where the emphasis of the music is going. But you know, a lot of today's music is popular because it seems to me that a lot of the younger artists and I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but I'm just answering the question. It seems that they're going for what's popular versus, you know, trying to make a specific statement in terms of what their music influences are. You know, so it just depends on what you're trying to accomplish as an artist.
Well, I get what you're saying, but I know that, you know, you talk about popular. There was a period in time when funk music was popular music. Like I remember when Daz Band came out. I was very
Absolutely.
little.
My brothers.
Yeah, I was very little, like around 2 or 3 years old, but I still remember the Whip It song.
Let It Whip.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah, and that was huge because they still talk about that song to this day. But
Yeah.
I was a toddler when that came out, but I still know the impact of Let It Whip. You know, and that was a very popular funk song. So funk can be popular.
It was.
Yeah.
It was. You know, but
I was just saying it can be pop music, but it has to, you know, it
well,
has
funk
to draw.
was never. It was funk was a popular genre at one time, but it's never been classified as popular pop music. Pop usually has a different connotation. You know, it's usually crossover. It's usually when people of a darker hue makes music that a lot of people of a lighter hue gets into and purchases. That's what makes it popular from a genre standpoint in the business. But from 70, from like 1970, 1969, 1970 to, let's say, 1980 was the golden age of funk in terms of its popularity. And you had a lot of change coming in with rap and hip hop, and basically the music industry decided that the profit margin was greater to usher in new genres of music because it was cheaper to make, and that means that if you're spending less money making a product, then the profits are bigger. And so they start dismantling the bands because you take a group like Cameo, for example, who was 9, 10 people strong when they first started off, and then it dwindled down to five. And
Right.
so that's where the change came in. So it was more economic, you know, from a record label business standpoint. But funk has never died, and it never will.
I get you. It's similar
We're
to
here to
how
stay.
it's similar to how people look at like crunk music from when I was a young adult. Like crunk music, people don't really want to listen to that now, but in its heyday in the early 2000s, it was like everywhere. And I remember Little John had a chain that said "Crunk will never die." So in his mindset, in his mentality, it's always going to be about crunk, which is kind of similar to how you look at funk.
Yeah, but I'm not just looking at. I wouldn't compare crunk to funk. It's different because even once hip hop came in and became the most popular genre, most of the music that you hear is sampling funk records, not crunk records. So there's a vast difference. The funk music has never died because it's been recycled and used in modern day music. Perfect example, a lot of young people thought when MC Hammer did, "You can't touch this," they thought that was his song. And I actually had a young person tell me, "Why is Rick James singing MC Hammer's song?" I say, "No, you got to twist it. It's the other way around."
Right.
So, it's like, you go through different stages. Like you brought up Crunk when you were coming up. That was a stage. Even I brought up the golden ages of funk. That was a stage. Music, everything evolves. So with evolution comes differences and changes. It's just how the people respond to it or how the artists react to the changes. But funk ain't going nowhere.
What's your perspective on it, John? Because you've been quiet over here.
Well, just like you said, really, you look at rap, you look at hip hop, rap sampled a lot of songs from funk bands, from the Ohio Players to James Brown. So
P funk.
funk relives over and over in new genres, especially in rap. You see it a lot in rap and in hip hop too. So it'll never die. It just the younger
It
generation
multiplies.
takes it and they put their spin on it, and it's to them it's new, but it really isn't. It's nothing new
There's
under the
nothing
sun.
new under the sun.
Right.
It's just different.
So, what's your opinion on people blending funk with other genres of music?
I think it's great. I think it's great. I think like I said, I'm about evolution. I think things can't stay the same. Things have to evolve. That's just like how when, if if you're 45 years old, you shouldn't still be doing the same things you were doing at 25. You
Right.
have to grow up. Things have to evolve. That's what makes the world go round. So evolution is necessary. It's just how you take a legendary group like the Isley Brothers. You're talking about seven, 7 centuries,
Well, 7 decades.
7 decades. My bad. 7 decades they've been relevant and having hit records in every decade.
Yeah, since 1958. Yeah.
Yeah, the year before I was born. You don't mean to tell my age, but I just did. But I ain't scared. I'm
Yeah.
proud to be that.
Well, I
I
had
got a
the
birthday coming up on
well,
the
I had
26th of this month.
I had the privilege of going to an Isley Brother concert last
It
year,
is a privilege.
and it's like they did shout is the last song before they
Right.
closed the,
It's
the show,
amazing.
and it's like I remember when they went up, they did a verses against
Earth,
Earth,
Wind,
Wind,
and
and
Fire.
Fire,
Yeah.
and it's like Earth, Wind, and Fire is great. You know, they are a great band, but they don't have a song like Shout in the historical meaning of Shout.
Well,
like
no,
Isley Brothers
they
did.
don't have a song like Shout. They're two different bands, you know.
But I'm talking about
Yeah.
as far as the crossover
Oh.
that Shout. And
No,
the
but
historical,
No,
the
but they
historical
have a
importance
song
of
like
it.
After the Love Is Gone, which is crossover, you know, but they just completely different. But I hear what you're saying.
Yeah.
You know, but the Ozzy Brothers was around much sooner than Earth, Wind, and Fire. But to Earth, Wind, and Fire's greatness, that's the only group that could actually be in a versus with the Ozzy Brothers. Is Earth, Wind, and Fire and P-Funk.
Right.
No other group have the catalog to do that.
Well, I think it would have been more fair if Earth, Wind, and Fire went up against Parliament.
Well, why would what I just said P-Funk, but how would it have been more fair?
Because Isley Brothers been around longer and they have a stronger catalog. That's what I was saying.
I didn't say that they
taking-
have a stronger catalog than Earth, Wind, and Fire. I just think that they've been around longer. Earth, Wind, and Fire's catalog is ridiculous.
I'm not taking anything away from Earth, Wind, and Fire. I'm
Yeah.
just saying that the Isley Brothers catalog is just longer and it's more solid. Even though both
I
are
would
great,
say
even though both are great bands. That's my personal opinion.
Yeah, and you're entitled to it. Yeah.
Yeah.
But for me, I wouldn't say that their catalog is more solid. I would say that it's more extensive because of longevity, because they was in the game, you know, years before. You know, because you could go back to songs like Lay Lady Lay and, you know, Pop That Thing, Bang Bang Bang. They've been around. But once Earth, Wind, and Fire stepped on the scene, they have never faltered, and they made hit after hit after hit after hit. And they are the architects of crossover, because if you go to their concerts, it's very bright. It's very bright at their concerts. So that goes to their, you know, to their following. It's just like, those are two amazing groups, man. You can't go wrong with neither one of them. They're two completely different groups, but they don't call them the baddest band in the land for nothing.
Okay. I understand your point of view.
Yeah.
And I would because I had went to see Isley Brothers and I saw people like, you know, of lighter, fair complexion than myself.
They there.
That were.
But
yeah,
not like
hold on,
Earth, Wind, and Fire. Yeah.
That were younger than me, like in their early
Yes.
20s.
Yeah.
At these concerts.
You see that at EWF too.
Yeah, so it's like the music
Go see
that
it.
they. I will.
But it won't be the same because Reese is gone. See, you missed out because when Maurice was alive and when they were at the pinnacle, you know, at the top of what they were doing, it's different. See, now Philip has a lot of weight on him because in most cases he's singing his parts and Maurice's parts, which is why I say he's the greatest vocalist on the planet. But you know, you got to go see them because they still put on an amazing show, even though they're not the original lineup of Earth, Wind, and Fire.
Okay, so a lot of people don't know that you were in the documentary for Rick James. So,
Yeah.
how important was Rick James to your journey into funk music?
He was very important because he was brash, he was creative, and he didn't just, you know, make hollow music. You know, he wasn't just he was making the music that he thought, you know, was great and that was going to make him relevant. He wasn't trying to follow no blueprint or model just to have a hit, and that's what made him stand out. He was original.
All right.
Yeah.
And who was your major influence?
My name was, I'm more of a ballad deal. I like the slow songs.
Okay.
Right. Some great
More
songs.
than the up-tempo songs. But I like to say, Commodores.
Great band.
I like to say Commodores. Lionel Richie. I like his ballads. I like Commodores. And I like the Barcades and Compunction.
Yeah, I like her function too, and I like Lionel. But
What about Lakeside?
Yes, I like
They
Lakeside.
got, yeah, they got a lot of them too. They got a lot.
Like Say
What about
Yes,
the Gap Band?
See, that's
Yearning
what I
for
said.
Your
It's hard to
Love.
say.
Yeah.
Yeah,
What about Larry Graham and good old GCS, Graham Central Station?
I don't know too much. I know Larry
From Sly and the
Graham.
Family Stone. Yeah. Yeah.
But that's a little bit. I don't know about them too much. But I know I heard
Yeah,
Larry Graham.
we gonna look you up.
I know about one in a
We gonna
million.
concretize
I know about
Yeah.
1 in a million.
you. Right.
That's as
But he's
far
much
as
more.
Larry
He's
Graham.
much more than that. You're talking about the Godfather of slap bass. You know, he originated it. So it's deep. You know, like I go all the way back. I started off as a singer, so I'll go all the way back to the Temptations, Motown. My first musical influence was them. And that was back when James Brown was just kicking it off. So I go back to the Temptations, James Brown, and then all of the vocal groups, from the Stylistics to the Shylights, to the Delphonics, to the Dramatics, Smokey Robinson and the Miracles. All of that was first
Right.
before the music changed. See, that was an evolution. See, back then it was about singing groups and doo-wop. When you mentioned Sound of Philly earlier, that's when mainstay of music was about harmonies and vocals. But it switched over. James, Sly and the Family Stone, uh, uh, uh,
Hard
no, they hadn't come around yet.
Oh, okay.
James, Sly and the Family Stone, uh, Donny Hathaway, and what's the boys in New Orleans? Did Sissy Strut?
I can't think of
The Meters.
I can't think of the name.
The Meters.
The Meters.
See, they made music more to the forefront, and then you had a situation. You remember how Jackson 5 started off singing, and then they evolved, and you had songs like I Am Love and Dancing Machine, because the music got more musical, and it took over the vocal thing. And that's when groups like Sly and the Family Stone was coming up. And so, everything has to evolve. And so then you had mixtures of groups when like T.O.P. came around, the Ohio Players, and they were the first group that you started hearing high background vocals, high pitched voices. They were before Earth, Wind and Fire, you know. So it was this evolution of the music changing, and everything got more musical, and things got more melodic, and people started blending the music with the vocals. And then when you get around to like the Barcades and other groups like that, it just took off. So by the time you get to the mid 70s, it's full blown funk all over the place. You had a new funk band, it seemed like every month, and none of them sounded like the other one. They were all unique. They were integrating horns, you know, with band. And I always loved the bands that didn't have horns, like Lakeside and Rufus, featuring Shaka Khan. They had no horns, but you didn't miss them,
Okay.
you know. So the music got crazy. It took over.
As far as Lakeside, my favorite song by them is Raid.
Okay.
You know?
Okay, Raid is dope. Yeah.
I know they had more than that. They had Fantastic Voyage
They
and
got
all
gang
that.
hits.
But
Yeah.
Raid, for some reason, it
Beautiful
was like
group.
Raid. You
It
know,
resonated with you.
It made me like want to
Wanna
dance.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They got a
Dope
gang of
cast of
songs.
songs, man.
Yeah. Funky
Right.
Band and Good Brothers.
And then they also had the song "Say Yes" that
Yeah.
I like.
Say Yes is a great ballad.
Right. So it was one thing that I liked about a lot of the funk bands is that they could get very funky, but then when it was time to
Pure music, man.
when it was time to like
Slow
it
it
down and serenade to the women, they could hold their own in that department as well.
And one of my
You
favorite
can't fake
songs,
real.
Ohio Players did that real well. They had up-tempo songs and they had
They
ballads.
started it. They set the table. The Ohio Players was the blueprint for a lot of funk bands to come later. And people had their own sound and they did what the Ohio Players did in their own way. That's what made each band unique, But by them coming first, You know, they set the table. You know, with songs like, the Funky Worm and, Jive Turkey and Skin Tight. Those songs set the stage for other great funk anthems that came later on.
Yeah, Skin Tight. That song has stand the test of time.
It's
Cause,
do.
cause I, like Skin Tight. I remember,
Yeah,
when
I
I was,
must be like this.
yeah, that was a
No.
good one. But Skin Tight,
Yeah, no,
I
but good
remember
ones.
in high school, like they used to use it as a joke. Cause back when I was in high school, the end thing was to wear baggy pants. It wasn't to wear tight
Yeah,
pants.
y'all had changed the game.
And so,
we didn't like that. No
so,
baggy pants on girls.
so when a guy would come to school
Yeah.
with some tight pants on, we would sing
Yeah,
that
clown 'em.
song. You would clown him with Skin Tight.
Yeah.
As you should.
Skin Tight.
You should have climbed them.
And then skinny jeans came back in style when I was like around
Never had a pair,
26,
never
27.
will.
But didn't y'all wear tight clothes in the 70s?
No.
Yeah.
No. See, let me
There
help
was
you out.
window panes and bell bottoms.
No, let me help you out because I went through this with my sons. First of all, nothing that you saw us wear on stage, you would see us walking down the streets wearing. That's stage attire. Ain't nobody walking down the streets looking like Parliament Funkadelic going to a house party or going to the club. We didn't do that. So people got it mixed up because, yeah, we wore tight stuff on stage, not in the streets. There's a difference. See, y'all blurred the line. Your generation figure if it's good enough for us to wear on stage, if they wear it in the videos, we could wear it to the party.
No, like my generation, we wore baggy clothes.
Yeah,
It was
why?
the one after me. The generation after
It
me.
was both of y'all. Y'all
No,
started it and they mistook it and ran with it.
No, I never wore tight clothes. I was wearing baggy, hanging off the hanging off the behind,
Hanging
sagging.
off your ass.
Yeah, that's what I was like when I was in high school. I was walking around looking like that, not understanding how silly that was. But
Yeah.
after that phase went out, that was like around I say around 2004 ish when people start like transition over to tight clothes. And I like when I first saw it, I was like, "What the hell is this?" Like I didn't get it. And then
I have
after
a
a while,
request, bro.
what's up?
Turn the air conditioner back on.
I don't know, it's on.
It's only just it's in
automatic.
limbo.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
automatic. But I
Well,
was
I hope
going
it
to.
automatically remember to come on.
Yeah, it's like to come on right now.
That's a blessing.
But that's a saver for me.
Yeah.
But John, what instruments do you play? Because I've seen clips of you on TikTok, and I know I never had this discussion with you, but I want to talk about the instruments that you play because I've seen you perform on TikTok before.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm really, I want to sing a TikTok. But
Oh my God.
I started off playing drums. And then I ended up playing keyboard. Synthesizer.
Man, somebody done
Keyboard
hacked you,
player.
bro.
Right, I got to see this one.
Damn.
Well, I didn't save it. I just happened to see it. I was scrolling.
Wow. I got to do some scrolling.
You
when I
doing?
get
Hey,
home.
wait a minute. You doing music behind my back that I need to get
I'm
paid
not aware of
for?
it. I'm not aware, but I started playing drums first, and then I
That's
made
funny.
the transition to keyboards, which I like better. But every once in a while, you see my feet bumping and I'm playing drums, especially when I hear groove. But
He's a drummer at heart.
that's how I started.
And what about you?
Well, I started off as a vocalist and singer, but I play bass. I don't tell nobody that I'm a keyboard player, but I can play keyboards. I don't tell nobody that I play guitar, but I know a few chords, and I can play drums as well. But, there's other instruments that I can play. I walked into Sam Ash music stores when they were still around, and the big bass, I had never played one, and I walked in and played it just because that's what God gave me. So You know, I'm sure I can play other instruments. I just maybe haven't picked them up yet.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's not about me. I'm just the vessel that energy flows through. You know, so I'm just fortunate that it flows through me.
So, y'all did a new single, Funktivity. What day did y'all drop it?
It hasn't dropped yet, but talk to him about that.
Okay, so when are y'all dropping the single Funktivity?
Well, right now, we're doing the finishing touches. We don't have a specific date right now, but it's going to be soon. I'll say within a month, or two. We're right at the tips. We're already looking for places to schedule a listening party and a release party. It's going to be soon. Before October, before the mid-October, I'll say.
Okay, so
You invited.
okay. So what platforms are you gonna have a single set up on?
Well, I'll answer that question. We're not going to have the single set up on any streaming platforms because we're not gonna allow anybody else to make money off of this project other than me and him. Yeah. You know, and whatever other musicians that we pulled in to play on it. That's a big problem in the music business. We're doing this ourselves, all independent. There's no record label involved, and you know, we have to do everything in terms of trying to get airplay, whatever you name it, we got to do it. There's no company involved. So I decided I pulled my music. I only have one song in this instrumental up on the streaming platform, you know, and I pulled the other ones down because I wasn't getting paid properly, you know, but somebody else is making money off of the backs of the work that we do. So I'm not gonna play that game, you know. So we're releasing our project in CD form. Now I do have, you know, MP3s, and people prefer to buy the download and do it that way, you know, because now the newer cards are coming without CD players. You just put in your, you know.
So you doing flash drives?
Yes, we doing flash drives and CDs, you know, and they will be for sale wherever we are, whenever we are. You'll be able to buy CDs, flash drive downloads, T-shirts, caps, whatever funk band, whatever Funktivity, whatever we're doing.
And as you see, I supported this band because I bought this Funktivity
Thank you,
T-shirt.
brother. Thank you.
I want to buy a
Thank
hat.
you very much.
I want to buy a hat, but they don't have fitted hats because I only wear fitted hats. They only have the.
We got fitted hats, but I don't know if it's your size. Tell me what your size is, and I'll get you
7
a
and
fit.
5/8.
7 and 5/8.
That's pretty
Lord. No wonder you so damn smart. You got a big ass head.
See, I didn't like you didn't want to tell your age.
Ain't nothing. I don't mind telling my age.
I didn't want to
I
say
don't
my
mind telling my
hands.
age. It's a privilege for me to be alive at any age.
And you know,
So
and it's a
this is-
privilege for my head to be a 7 and 5.
It is, because it just shows that you're intelligent. I know people that got bigger heads than you.
I do too.
I know people who got smaller heads than you. You looking at one of them right here. We used to have to tie his hats around his head. You know the ones that look. Turn around for a second. So look,
See the strap?
I'm surprised it ain't all the way over there.
No, I cut it. Because it was overlapping. So I cut it, you know, so that.
I told him you got one of the littlest heads that I know. He said, "Yeah, I'm all brain." I said, "Okay, that's a good thing."
Micro brain. That's what it is.
All right.
Y'all funny.
So I know that you selling T-shirts. Where can people find your Funktivity T-shirts at this moment?
Well, at this moment, they can get them directly from me, either me or Johnny. But our website is down, but it's about to be up. And the website is called Black House Entertainment, which is the name of our entertainment company. And we also have Rhythm 2000 Records, which is the name of our record label. So in the very near future, like he gave you a timeline pretty much, he said, you know, middle to the beginning of the beginning to the middle of October, people will be able to go on the Black House Entertainment website and purchase stuff, and it'll be sent directly to them. Or they can get it directly from either me or Johnny.
All right,
That's what it is.
and I know that you're selling shoes and things of that nature. Are you
Oh,
still
yeah.
doing that?
Absolutely. That's a different. That's a, a a project that I'm doing. In a collaboration with an Italian company that makes the shoes. And they're available through Facebook. You can just go on to Facebook and click on the link and order them directly, and they'll be shipped to the purchaser. No shipping fee, no tariff situation, so you don't have to worry about no delays. And also, I must say, all of those shoes are designed by me. They're the boxes to them are designed by me, and I only do 50 pairs of each shoe. So it's a lot of exclusivity involved. So what that means, anytime you buy a shoe, a D Moody shoe, there's only 49 other people in the whole world with that shoe.
Okay, so where on Facebook can they
On
find
on and you go to Derek Moody's profile.
that? Okay, so they have to go to your profile.
They have to go to my profile.
Derek Moody, y'all.
Yeah.
And
To
then
get
you
the D
have
Moody
to,
shoes.
and then you have to save him as a friend, and then you can click that link to get his
And
shoes.
give you total access. Yep.
All
And
right.
you don't need to involve me at all unless you have to. And you can click on whichever shoe you see. You can click on it. It gives you the European sizes as well as the American sizes. You can choose your size, and you can order the shoe. You put your information in. They just send me a percentage. The shoe is manufactured and made by hand in Italy.
Okay, so what's the price range of the shoes?
The price range of the shoes is usually anywhere from mid 100 to upper 200. There's no shoe that I have that's $300, but some are two and change, some are one and change. But again, these are handmade shoes from Italy, and if you see them, they're amazing. And the chances of you, unless you tell your friends and your relatives, of seeing somebody else wearing the shoe that you purchased is slim to none. And why haven't you gotten none yet? Did you see John Taze?
No, I didn't see.
He didn't show him?
No, he didn't. But as you see, I got plenty of shoes.
But
so,
you ain't got none of mine. What's that got to do with anything?
I have.
Should I feel away?
No, I got your T-shirt.
Yeah, but we ain't talking about t-shirts. We talking about shoes. Since you a collector,
I got 19 pairs of shoes right there.
well, when are you gonna get 20? There's no limit on shoes. Do you know how many shoes I got?
Probably 100.
I stopped counting, but I got a song called Shoe Fetish,
I was just going to say that.
Oh, okay.
and it's real. That's why everybody like it, because not only do I have a shoe fetish for men's shoes, I love to see women wearing nice shoes. I got a shoe fetish for real, for real.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
You haven't heard that song?
No, I
Oh,
haven't.
you got to hear it. I'll make sure you hear it before I leave.
So you're about to leave to go on tour?
No, negative. I'm about to leave to go back to California, where my I don't have no kids. I have adults. Where my sons and daughters and grandkids are, and bring in my birthday there. And I got to come back here because we're doing a listening party and a single release party here in Chicago. Then we're going to do one in LA. Then I have to do one in Vegas. Then we're going to do one in Oakland, and we're going to do one in Dallas. So it's going to be, the next couple of months is going to be super busy. The live stuff is not going to come until probably the first of the year, because we're going to want to, secure airplay, build up momentum on the single, and then get the band ready to hit the road.
How many people are in Funk Band?
Right now, 4.
Okay.
But it's going to probably be more like 7. The finished product is going to probably be more like 7.
And that way you don't have to play 2 instruments each. I can just concentrate on the keyboard, which is what I like to do.
Keyboards and
He
background
will have to
vocals.
play multiple instruments too, but in the studio.
I've been eating long enough now. Stop being greedy. Let's keep it real, partner. Give to the needy. Ribs touch, so don't make me wait. Fuck around and I'ma bite you. Snatch the plate. I've been eating long enough now. Stop.
Yeah. Somebody is calling me. Give me a moment. Hey, I'm gonna hit you up. I'm gonna come right back. I
Bring
need
in
to.
some of the viewers, man. Let's hear their feedback.
They already left.
Why you let them leave?
No, I didn't let them leave. They left on their own. All right,
That
but
ain't
I'm gonna
cool.
wrap this up. We've been at it for 40 minutes. Thank everybody that hit up and listened to everything.
Man,
This
you
is
should
just
get some
Bob
of the viewers
Bowman.
in.
I'll catch you on the next
That's
one.
what it's all about. That's how you know in the future when you have